Hey guys, Sean here. So something big just happened. Russia has finally made its move in this currency war and now demands all unfriendly countries that want to buy its gas to pay in rubles. Putin has finally played his Uno reverse card and has shocked the West, especially Europe. Now this is a brilliant high-risk maneuver by Russia and is going to force the West to indirectly strengthen Russia's economy whether they like it or not. Now Russia has essentially gotten sick of the sanctions imposed by the United States and NATO, and this is their counteroffensive in this financial game of chess. But it will not stop there. If Russia can pull this off and the West can't find an effective counter, it could mean the rise of a new petrol ruble, or in this case, gas ruble. As investors, we need to take this seriously because if Russia pulls this off with gas, this will cause another crack in the US dollar and cause more instability in the world. Now firstly, why is Russia doing this? Well, simply put, the sanctions imposed by the United States and Europe have essentially crippled a huge part of the Russian economy. The biggest of which is the West has sanctioned Russian banks that hold over $1 trillion, frozen a large chunk of their assets, and most importantly, stopped them from accessing and using their US dollar reserves. Now this is a very important point because since Russia cannot use their US dollars, they can't sell their dollars to buy up and defend the ruble, right? This is why you see the ruble crash by almost 30% in the weeks after the sanctions were imposed. And because of this, their dollars are essentially worthless, and Putin sees no point in selling his gas for more euros or dollars that he's actually banned from using, right? Plus, Russian gold has now been sanctioned and it is almost impossible to be sold in the Western markets. So this is where Putin's ultimate Uno reverse card comes in. He will force Europe to defend the ruble, and he doesn't need to do it himself. And by forcing Europe to pay for gas in rubles, he has effectively turned the tables. Now, I believe this is more of a desperation move that shows Russia is running out of options, but it could unleash mayhem and really open Pandora's box. So how does this gas for rubles work? It's rather simple. Countries like Germany and France, which are extremely reliant on Russian gas, will now have to find a way to come up with rubles to buy the gas. Dollars or euros will no longer be accepted, and here's the part that's the kicker. Putin has told the West that they can purchase Russian rubles in their domestic foreign exchange market through the Bank of Russia. So this just means that the West has to use their dollars or euros to buy rubles from Putin, help build up Russia's central bank reserves, and circulate the ruble around. Now you might be asking, how can Putin actually accomplish this? And that's because he understands keenly that at this specific moment in time, he has Europe trapped because many countries are still reliant on his gas. Germany alone imports around 60% of their gas from Russia. And because the countries are going to diversify away from Russian gas, it's inevitable, like what Germany is doing right now with Qatar. Putin has to play this card now while he still has the chance. So in the short term, most of Europe will likely have no choice but to comply and pay in rubles. They need energy. And this is why the ruble flew up almost immediately after Putin made this announcement. He knew that Europe has no choice but to pay, at least for now. So this is really a crazy gamble, and if Russia decides to extend this to the rest of their commodities such as oil, wheat, iron or even gold, they might be on track to create their own petrol ruble. Now Russia can pull this off to an extent because they have tons of commodities and resources to sell. They are the third largest producer of oil after Saudi Arabia and the second largest producer of natural gas after the United States. In fact, they are the world's biggest exporter of wheat as well. Now, the big issue that worries me is that this could have crazy consequences for this conflict and could just escalate it even further, right? Russia is trying to force demand for the ruble, while the United States will understand that Russia is trying to reduce demand for dollars at the same time. Now, the million or maybe trillion-dollar question is, how will Russia follow up with this, and what will the West do to counter this move? Now, if Russia is serious about this petro ruble or trying to turn the ruble into a reserve currency, they could take another drastic action, and that is to back up the ruble with gold. We all know that fiat currencies eventually lose their value, and even though the US dollar isn't terrific, it is still the best currency for now. Russia could very well use the rubles they get from their gas sales and buy up their domestic gold, or use their newfound dollars to perhaps buy gold elsewhere, maybe from China. So if they do link the ruble to gold, now it gives them extra leverage because the ruble can now be used to buy Russian commodities plus its value is guaranteed, at least by part with gold. And this allows them to essentially use their gold reserves, which are frozen, which can't really be used anyway. So remember, Russia has an incredible stash of $140 billion of gold that the West is about to freeze. So in Putin's mind, if he can't sell it off, he might as well, try to back the ruble with it. And if people want to redeem the ruble for gold, so be it. Russia could be at a point they have nothing left to lose. Now, America and Europe aren't going to sit back idly, and they could turn this situation around if they are quick enough. There's always a counter move to everything. I'm sure they will consider additional sanctions, but I believe they will likely start to do three things that could really undermine Putin's gas for ruble strategy. Now, firstly, the West can diversify their immediate gas and energy needs like how Germany has done. Whether that is reopening their oil fields, reactivating nuclear power plants, who knows, but this will help reduce their reliance on Russian gas. They could also go forge bilateral trade deals with other oil and gas producing countries, but we know that currently Saudi Arabia isn't exactly playing ball. Secondly, they will have to take renewable energy such as solar more seriously and accelerate the push to renewables. And finally, and I think this is going to be the hardest one to accomplish, and that is to show the world that the US dollar is still a currency that can be trusted. This means combating the insane 7.9% inflation of the dollar, stop printing money, and continuing hiking interest rates no matter what. I think this won't be very easy because it is unlikely we'll get through all the rate hikes without seeing some shakiness in the stock market. But I think that if they can accomplish this in time, Russia's gas for ruble strategy won't be that effective, and if no one needs Russia's resources, it could really isolate the country even further. This means higher inflation in Moscow, and Russia might be forced to become self-sustaining, which isn't really easy. Now, all this is just pure speculation, but it gives us as investors a roadmap on a scenario we can expect. Right now, there's a lot of fear in the market, and it's no surprise that gold has risen by around 2%. I think if Russia really decides to try to make a play for the gold-backed ruble, we can expect more demand flooding to gold, pushing the price higher. And if the West decides to accelerate renewables to diversify away from fossil fuels, silver will really benefit from this in the long run. It's really anyone's guess how this will play out, but I believe the world has come to quite a few realizations. You have to be more self-reliant, especially when it comes to energy. We have to move away from fossil fuels eventually, and you need to have your reserves physically with you to minimize any counterparty risk. I think new alliances will be forged and even more uncertainty will be installed down the road. And in this period of currency wars, I feel the most secure in hard assets like gold and silver. They hold their value, they can't be inflated away, and regardless of who comes out on top, gold and silver will be there to preserve your wealth. Plus, I think the push towards renewable this time will become much more serious now that energy concerns, especially being held hostage by Russia, is now a reality. Countries are likely to move towards solar tech in a big way, and this means silver will eventually benefit from this down the road. So physical gold and silver, get them while you still can before they become unobtainium. Right now, I think we are seeing a currency war play out in real time, and we have a front row seat in seeing the chaos that might unfold. We really won't know who will win because it's near impossible to predict the butterfly effect from each move either the West or Russia makes. Could NATO see this as aggression and move in troops to Ukraine? Possibly. Could Russia really take it a step further and demand all commodities to be paid in ruble? It's not impossible. Right now, Russia is backed too far into a corner and they are lashing out. And this really isn't good because we do not know how else they can reverse the sanctions, and Putin seems to be full of surprises. I believe the uncertainty in the markets right now is so high that even if we stop this financial sparring right now, the effects will last years or even decades. No country will truly win this chess match, and perhaps the only winning move left is for both sides to get up and stop playing. And for us, I think protecting your wealth is more necessary than ever, and we might be entering an era where hard assets will be the preferred choice. So let me know what you think. Is the West really going to pay for gas in rubles and let Putin win, at least for now, or are they going to plan a counter to this and drag this financial chess game even further? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe for more gold, silver and finance videos. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you soon.